let's bluntly put it, can China live without U.S. agricultural goods?
I mean, look, I think they probably can. However, I think trade is what makes the world go round, so they would rather have as many potential sources of products as they can. So in extremis, yes. But as we found with the war in Ukraine and even during COVID, security of supply chains has become a bigger issue, and diversity within supply chains remains a big issue. So whilst they could, I think they would rather get to a position where the tariff dispute with the US calms down a bit.
I thought it was fascinating that China hosting this event, offering basically Latin American countries and the Caribbean countries billions of dollars to rival the U.S. influence there. And at the same time, I mean, big implications for the agriculture area because of countries like Brazil and Argentina. What was your key takeaway from that?
Look, I think lots of it goes back a bit to what I said before. I think diversity within supply chains is important, which is why trade around the world is important. I think there have been closer links, certainly between the Lula administration in Brazil and China, and I'm not surprised to see that they're trying to find ways in which they can secure materials from different parts of the world. But as I say, dependence on any one country is a vulnerability. So it's good to have a number of countries that can help with supplying the products that you need.
Sure. I mean, diversification is key. I mean, especially in this day and age, I would say. But what would be really the key factor that can really draw the comparison between the U.S. goods and some of these Latin American, South American goods? Because some analysts were pointing out the weather as well as the seasonalities. Those factors could actually make it difficult for China to be able to reduce its U.S. purchases.
Look, I think that's right. But the biggest factor, of course, in all trade is price. So a world where you have the tariffs that we had even a week ago between the US and China, that is a big disincentive to do business. Now they've put the 90-day moratorium in. They've reduced the level of tariffs. I think that helps. But fundamentally, the biggest factor in any trade and any commodity is what price are people charging, and tariffs distort that price, and that creates problems.
Rory, listen, help us out here. I'm thinking back to President Trump's first term in office, right? Had that phase one trade deal, et cetera, which included, promises by China to buy a certain amount of soybeans as well as corn from the U.S. Obviously, they have not met that full commitment or quota. How far short are they, one? And two, do you have any sense that the next stage in talks, wherever they end up going, are going to have to include things like, look, guys, phase one, we're not done with that yet. Just still have to make that up.
Yeah, look, I don't know exactly how far short they are, but I think it is interesting in the other talks that the Trump administration has had with the UK, for example. Part of that involved quite a big commitment to be buying US-made aircraft by UK carriers. I think there was a deal done in Saudi Arabia earlier this week, and again, a big element of that was the purchase of products from America. I think President Trump...
Are you worried that ag could get shortchanged in all this?
Well, I think I think the art of the deal. So he says, you have a problem with me. The way you solve the problem is do what I want. So and it could be meet your phase one commitments. It could be actually we're going to increase those commitments, and that's the way you settle the problem. What President Trump seems to want to do is get countries going to America or meeting American trade people and doing deals, and he can then say, I took strong action, people reacted as a result, this is better for America. That seems to be his tactic.
So here's the thing, though. Here may be the problem. I mean, China is defiant, right? As Sherry's pointed out right at the top. China is saying, look, we can live without U.S. ag. We can live without U.S. energy as well. Yeah. Is that really true? Because in terms of alternatives, obviously they get most, if not the bulk of their oil from the Saudis right now, if I'm not mistaken, right? In terms of ags, I guess they could pivot and try and buy more from Brazil, but I mean, can Brazil alone make it up?
I don't think so. I mean, look, in the same way as President Trump's approach is a fairly robust one, I think China's response also is. If they were to say anything different, it puts them vulnerable in any negotiation with the States. They say they can live without US ag. I think that makes the negotiation from their perspective a better one to have. I don't think relying on any one country for the bulk of your supplies. And since COVID, since the war in Ukraine, Europe saw all sorts of problems when the war in Ukraine happened because Ukraine's provided a lot of agricultural products to Europe. Nobody wants to be in that position. You want diversity of supply, and I think that's how you control price and how you control the fact that you can access what you need. So yes, in theory they could. Is it the best outcome for them? I don't think so. I think they want to get supplies from a number of countries.
Yeah.